Ciao Prachi. First of all, thank you for accepting my invitation for this conversation in occasion of March 8th. This is a date that reminds us our winning as a women, but also what is still missing. And that is why I want to invite you for several reasons. You're a young executive woman with a remarkable career in different companies and in different countries. So I would love to hear your point of view about diversity, equity, inclusion topic. And plus, many of us didn't have the pleasure to meet you yet. So I'm sure this is a great opportunity for us. So really thank you.
Perfect. Thank you so much for inviting me over. This is a pleasure to be part of the 8th March discussions. And I look forward to a lovely evening with you.
Great. So let's start. I start with the first question. So Prachi, before meeting you, we've been searching some information about your background online, and that's what we found. So we know you were born in India, where you studied electrical and electronics and engineering at Goa University. Then you built a solid international career across different countries in various areas of logistics and in different companies. You also hold an MBA from HEC Paris. You see, I've listed a few things for you.
You did a great job.
But here comes the real question. Could you briefly tell us who is Prachi?
That's a nice question. So I come from a very small place in India. It's called Goa. If you look at it on the map, it is something like a Mallorca, for Europe. So it's sun, sand, beach, relaxed life, not a lot of worry. So I've grown up in that kind of environment where the pressure was not so high, probably. So that gave you a lot of, freedom to do a different thing. And I chose a different path where I said, I like math. So then I said, okay, I wanted to do engineering. I chose electrical engineering because my father was electrical engineer, kind of followed his path. And it takes a long time to decide what you really want to do many times, right? So after that, I explored a couple of different companies. So I joined a design company where I was designing motors, did software, did logistics, and then finally joined Hilti in 2017. 7 years I've spent in Shan as a GPM and then head of BU material management in installation, followed by operations head in Switzerland, and now I'm here. Personally, I am married and I have a 14-year-old son. And it's an interesting time for us as a family.
I can imagine.
Absolutely. He loves TikTok, so we need to figure out, and and then he goes for a haircut and I never think he has cut his hair, like the, usual mom problem, I think, nowadays. Overall, I like puzzles. I like books. I like sports. And also, creating, painting and some artistic part. But I love puzzles. And I think one of my let's say, growing up, favorite part is building IKEA furniture. So if any of my friends buy IKEA, they call me, and I just love it. Just opening the book and making the puzzles. So yeah, that's me.
I remember that you also told me that you love problem solving, right?
Yes, I think probably that is the reason why I took engineering as well. One part. Because it just gives you the right skills to solve different problems. And I don't think I use any of my engineering now because I'm an electrical engineer, so I do nothing electrical. But I think it just gives you the right tools to ask yourself, is this, how do you solve a problem? And I think that is something I really enjoy.
Very interesting point of view, Prachi. Talking about Hilti. As we all know, Hilti is a company that strongly believes and invests in diversity, equity, inclusion topics. And in fact, creating inclusive teams is key for our Lead 2030 strategy, right?
Yeah.
And that is why we want to become a great employer for everyone, everywhere. So, what is your point of view on DEI and how do you believe it can concretely impact the business?
I think having all different kind of people part of the business, I think statistically or, research has proved that you just get better. Having a diverse team can just make you better. And I think if you have the right equity and inclusion attached to it, it just makes it fun as well. So people really enjoy a culture where you can be yourself. So I think DE&I is, as a company, really important for us because you have the right pool of people who can join us. It makes us better. So it's not also, many people have this thought that, we are doing something for others. No, we are doing something for us as well because we are building more fun team, more impactful team. And I think that is really the key. But for me, what is also important is it's not only women. For I think many times we have, D&I and women's group and we only talk about women. But you cannot have a change in society without everybody talking about it. So I personally believe men need to be brought into the conversation because they are equally responsible for allowing a good, let's say, society. And yes, it's one part of the professional part, but I think everybody has their own families and they nurture it. So why not do that at the work as well?
Completely agree with you, Prachi. Absolutely. And also, I remember when we spoke for the first time, you told me that whenever you had to choose a new role in your career life, you always chose people.
Yes.
Not companies, people. So here comes my question. Which qualities do you think a manager should have in order to create inclusive and motivated teams?
I think one part which I firmly believe is that the manager should inspire, and inspiration comes from one, trust, having clarity of thought, that if you're just mixing and, doing everything, you don't bring that. And having this passion that what you do is what you believe in. And I think that is really important as a manager to have. And of course, that goes without saying that the managers need to be more inclusive, bring different teams, have a safe environment where people don't feel scared. And I think that's really important. And I think if I look at my career path, and I told you that as well when we were talking, I don't think I chose companies so much, but I chose people. So I think in the interviews I've had, I've asked myself, will I have fun working with this person? And if the answer was yes, it didn't matter. Then I think all the discussions, because people do put a lot of focus on, benefits sometimes salary or sometimes, it depends. I'm nobody to judge or, whatever. But I personally have chosen people and I have till now not been let down. So I really would still choose people. And I think that's how my progression in Hilti has been.
Prachi, since you're very open and honest with me, thank you very much. Here comes also a personal question, let's say. Have you ever experienced discrimination against you in your personal or professional life?
It's very interesting that you ask me this, and I think many people have said that because, I come from a small place in India, it comes with stereotypes, being an engineer and things like that. And I'm a very optimistic person. I see glass half full. So I've never really, gone into that thought process where I felt, okay, I've been discriminated against or I have been treated differently. I probably looked at it as, okay, it didn't work for whatever reasons. Probably it was okay. Professionally, I would say not something I ever felt that I was given, something less because I was a woman.
This is a good news.
That is a great news, and also I think it goes back to my family as well. I think I give a lot of credit to my family for that. As I said, we come from a very, I would say, open society. So never was I ever felt or ever made to feel that I am not capable or I would not be able to do something. So this is something which is inspiring And I think when you grow up, then you see, okay, you know what? Women do get treated differently, which as a child I never had a challenge with. Growing up, never. And, I shared this another interesting conversation because it happened recently. So my uncle called me. Most of my family is based in Goa because they're like, why would we leave? And he called up and he said, so now how is the food situation? Who cooks food? Or rather, he said, how do you arrange food? Let me not say cook. And I said, I do cook. He's like, but why? So, and I know it's very small, but from his perspective, he did not kind of stereotype and say, you know what, because you're a woman and you're a mother, you need to cook.
Sure.
And this is kind of the family I have. So I'm very happy about that.
And lucky also.
And lucky as well. And I have a super supportive husband as well. But I have to tell you this story because, this happened in one of the rich European place where my son used to go to school. And, it was public school, of course. And I was invited for a parent conversation where one of the teacher, had this conversation with me saying, why are you working 100%? Because you should stay at home and provide for your child. Probably he misses you. So it was great because then the next time I made my husband go for all the teacher conversations. So it was great for me. So I didn't have to do any more parent conversation. And I was like, did she ask you that? And he was like, no. I was like, okay, perfect.
They didn't ask
So
him.
no. So I think that would be the only one which I remember. But yeah, I just laughed about it and we carried on.
You're also lucky for your husband. And by the way, I have another question. How do you manage to balance family and career in a relationship where both partners have the ambition to meet their professional goals? I mean, honestly speaking, this is a situation that wasn't very common years ago.
I think my husband is terrified if I stay at home, He doesn't know what I would be doing. So probably that helps as well. Now, my husband is a really supportive person, and I think we treat each other as equal. So he doesn't expect me to give up something, and I don't expect him to give up something. Of course, there are topics we discuss. We say, okay, does this work for us as a family? Some decisions we have made where we said, okay, you know what? It makes sense for us as a family. But most of the time, we find a compromise, and we meet halfway. And say, okay, let's make it work. Let's figure out. And most of the time, we never have an answer at the start. But over time, we say, okay, now how could we solve this problem? That comes back to problem solving as well. To say, okay, now we have this situation. What do we do? And overall, I think so far, we have always been very supportive of each other. Wow. And I would say he also encouraged me a couple of times, and I have encouraged him as well. So I think it's a equal relationship.
It's a co-relationship.
Yes.
That is a very good example, Prachi. And if you think about yourself many years ago, let's say
the younger me.
Younger you. Sorry for the younger. Sorry again. Did you ever expect to live the experiences you had and build the career that you have today?
That's a very nice question. I've been reflecting on that as well for quite some time now. I think I would say a couple of years. I had the feeling, because I come from this very laid back place, I was not so ambitious. But but I had to work. There was some part of me where I wanted to do something. Because of whatever. I had that feeling that I want to contribute in some way. But I had a very nice conversation with my best friend, and recently, and actually last year in December, and I was reflecting with her, and she said, probably you were ambitious. You wanted to do something. And if I think about it, I think I was looking for exploration. I wanted to explore different things. I wanted to see different challenges. And, I was probably not afraid. And I think that's what, if I look back and the path I've taken, I can only connect it backwards. Yeah. Like Steve Jobs once said, I cannot say I came here by planning it thoroughly. Yeah. I just, as I said, I chose the right opportunities with the people. And I said, okay, would it be fun to work on this with this person? Yes. And then I think progressively it worked. But I think the only thing I would say is I was not afraid. That is, and I had a good family who supported me. And I think that would be one of the reason I would say yeah,
You are confident.
I am confident. I took up opportunities. I became probably a bit ambitious. But yeah, that would be what I would reflect on.
And by the way, I think the best friends always tell the truth.
I hope so. She needs to stay my best friend for more time now.
So we've been talking about young Prachi, and so if we talk about young people, young generations, what kind of advice would you give to the new generations entering our company?
I think they are the Gen Zs, right? So I have one Gen Z at home as well. They seem to know what they want, which is great. My advice would be define what you want to do. Don't be afraid to follow what you want to do, but also explore. Because I think many times they feel they already know everything, or they know a lot of things, which is also fair. And you define, I mean, you've done that probably. And it's great to really know what you want, but give a chance for experiences and opportunities. And then see where it takes you. Just be open, follow your instinct. I would still say, as I kind of mentioned, choose people that inspire you. And I think the best thing would follow.
We go back also at the beginning of our conversation, and that is a good advice. And as we said at the beginning of our conversation, you chose this specific day for having a conversation with you, Prachi. So I would like to ask you, what does March 8th mean to you?
I mean, we've come a long way as women. I mean, let's not, put that, we need to bring that in the center, definitely. A lot of women did not have the opportunity. Did not have the support they needed. But for me personally, again, this is a very personal thought. I would believe that it's a day where men need as well as women to kind of look at the cause and say, how can we make the society better? And that can only happen if you have, diversity, equity, and inclusion. There is, I think, just saying that it's a women's day or it's a men's day. I don't know, they don't have a men's day, I think. But at the end of it, it is about people participating together in a conversation. Everybody has a choice to decide. So I'm not saying everybody, women need to, join professional, careers or have a professional career. But the thing is, they need to have a choice. And that is, for me, the place we want to be, where everybody gets a choice to decide what they want to do.
Absolutely. Very last question, Prachi. Is there a book you would recommend for those who want to deepen their understanding of leadership?
I mean, because it's Women's Day, right? I think one book that inspired me was this book called Lean In by Sheryl Sandberg. She was the, I think, former COO for Facebook. And it was a lovely book, a book which I thoroughly enjoyed, because a lot of things she said was like, oh, that happens to me as well. And I think it is so liberating to know that you are not alone in a lot of things that happen to you. So I would highly, highly recommend Lean In as a book, probably summer read or spring read. But yeah, it just gives you that perspective that as a woman, these things happen. And you are not alone and you have nothing to be ashamed about, because I think we react differently than men, which is okay because we are different.
We're different, yeah.
Exactly. But I would recommend that book definitely.
Thank you. Thank you, Prachi. We are really at the end of this lovely conversation. I really want to say thank to you, Prachi, because you dedicated this time for us. And also, I wish you good luck with this new adventure in Hilti Italia. We're very happy to have you here. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. It was a pleasure being here. And probably I'll get to know many more people over, next months and years. And I look forward to meeting all of you soon.
Thank you again.
Thank you.